Good morning. So, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about mycotoxins and what a test looks like for mycotoxins, how we test for these, and how we treat mycotoxins. So, a simple mycotox test is just a first morning urine. Now, if you're doing this first morning urine, usually the day before, we want you to have sweated decently, whether that's sauna, taking an Epsom salt bath, or doing something like heavy exercise. It also does well if you can fast from about 6 o'clock the evening before. That's going to help to ensure that you get the most accurate sampling of the urine. Now, when you do your first morning urine, you're just going to void into a cup and then mark it with your name, and we're going to send it on its merry way. In the box, there will be a shipping container. It'll tell you to freeze it for at least 8 hours. Make sure you freeze a cold pack and send everything into the lab. Now, once they get your test and they complete your results, this is kind of what your results summary is going to look at. So the very first page that I'm looking at has the summary of elevated results. And what we see here is that in this patient who gave me permission, but I went ahead and blacked out their name, they are elevated in ochratoxin. Now, we're going to talk about some of these toxins, but ochratoxin is one that tends to stem from black mold or Aspergillus niger. So taking a look at this, the below the detectable limit is what we want, but less than 7.5, and she scored a 7.78, meaning that there are mycotoxins in her body. So this here is a little diagram to show you where this can impact your health and what can cause the biggest problems with this. So with ochratoxin, we can have neurotoxicity. Now, I have had patients that have come in with neurodegenerative disorders such as dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, who have scored very high on ochratoxins. And once we remove the toxins from their body, they have noticed considerable improvement. So neurotoxicity is a big thing. It's not just brain fog. You start getting memory lapses. You start noticing you can't recall things. You feel like your cognitive function just is not there and you're not able to perform at the level you did before. Now, it can cause oxidative stress. Now, I've told you in previous videos, oxidative stress is when if you cut an apple in half, you let it sit out, it turns brown. It oxidizes. When it turns brown, the chemical components begin to no longer be effective. So in the body, oxidative stress happens when free radicals are allowed to run rampant across the body, and they get into the cells and they damage the mitochondria. Now, if you recall from science, mitochondria is a powerhouse of the cell. The mitochondria is what creates energy for your body. It is also what communicates with the DNA to tell each cell to continue to function in the proper capacity. So oxidative stress can happen. Immunotoxicity can happen, meaning your immune system goes haywire. Whether you start getting a SIRS reaction or an inflammatory response or even some of the multifocal inflammation responses, that can be a problem with ochratoxin. You can also get things like over here, carcinogenity. So you are more likely to develop cancers with this. Nephrotoxicity. So you're going to notice your kidneys start to degrade. Your GI system will degrade. You can get problems with your liver and problems with reproductive toxins. So one thing that I note when I'm looking at lab work on a patient, if you have a low vitamin D, a low testosterone, and I'm seeing elevations within the MPV or even slight elevations in the white blood cells, this gives me an indication that you have issues and this could be a mycotoxin. Now, let's quickly just talk about what happens. So not all mold is going to cause a mycotoxin reaction. Some molds are just molds. What a mycotoxin is when a mold starts to release a toxin and then it affects the body. Now, two people living in the same house can have completely different responses based on what their terrain or their threshold for the toxin is. So as it's being secreted, then what happens is if you've got a good healthy immune system, your body can remove it, You don't even know what's going on. The detoxification processes do their job. However, if you do not have a healthy immune system, this can become more problematic with you. And the problem with mycotoxins is it's not just it's living here or living there. It infects every fat cell. So it lives within your fat cells. And then during times of stress, during times of weight gain or weight loss, these can be released and cause havoc on your body. So this is just what can occur with ochratoxin. You can see the other toxins listed through here, but with this patient, we are discussing ochratoxin as this is what her results showed. Now, as you scroll down, it shows you your levels for all the other toxins, the ones that can cause problems in the body. And so you can see what we want is below the detectable limit, where that doesn't read at all. And you can see a little bit high on this one here, but not over the threshold to cause toxicity or problems within the body. Now, the next several pages kind of tells you why we're testing for this, what we're looking for, what can be some problems here, how they come up with it. This is just their little disclaimer. And then you've got interpretations on every single page. So it tells you this aflatoxin, this could be aspergillus, this could be lots of other things. Where can it be from? It can be from water damaged buildings. It can be from foods that you're eating. It tells you how it disrupts the body and the mechanism of action. And so this one here you can see causes problems in the CYP450 enzymatic pathway or the cytochrome P450. And we're going to talk about that in depth because that's going to be what kind of gives you the differentiating factor of how to heal the body. It goes through all of them. So ochratoxins, which this patient tested high in. So this is aspergillus species, usually a type of black mold or penicillium. Now, we can get this from foods, especially things like coffee, nuts, wine, grain, or dairy. This could be ingestion of contaminated animal products. This could be in bottled water, plant food supplements, coloring agents. It could be in dust from water damaged buildings, offices, and ventilation systems. And then it talks about its health impact. So with this one, the kidneys are the biggest target. It causes a lot of problems with this. And it tells us what can help. So things like N-acetylcysteine, CoQ10, different growth stimulating hormones, melatonin, polyphenols, things like vitamin C, E, zinc, and magnesium. So our antioxidant support can really help remove ochratoxins from the body. So it goes through and it gives you all the things, all the different molds that they test for, where it can be found, what is the clinical impact along the body. Now, what I want to explain next is how this causes problems within the body. So I've told you before, and we're going to skip through some of this, but there are 4 horsemen of the apocalypse here that cause disease. Oxidative stress, which we just talked about. Ochratoxins can cause oxidation. Inflammation. Now, not just inflammation from overuse, this could be cellular inflammation. Catabolic physiology, where the body begins to break down, and this can be because of the mitochondria or adrenal overwhelm. And then insulin resistance. As that happens, what happens is the body breaks down in a very consistent fashion every single time. The first thing to go is the brain and the hormones. So when I have patients that are telling me, I have so much brain fog, I just don't know, my sex drive is nil, nothing whatsoever. Then I start thinking, okay, well, let's look at some blood work labs on you and see. And then when I start seeing depreciations or declines in these things, that's when I know that there is a significant problem here and that we need to dive a little bit deeper. Now, the hormones aren't just your sex hormones. This can be your adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are what secrete cortisol, what secrete adrenaline, norepinephrine. They also are what create dopamine, which is the neurotransmitter or the brain chemical that is responsible for drive, focus, purpose, reward. It also helps to secrete testosterone. So adrenal glands are super important. Then when this breaks down, the next thing to break down is the GI system. And this causes problems with absorptions of nutrients. We have problems getting rid of toxins, all of that. In the gut, 95% of your serotonin, your neurotransmitter that is responsible for peace, sleep, a sense of calm or well-being, is made So if we start having problems with our GI system, we are no longer going to be able to secrete our serotonin, our norepinephrine. Now, when we talk about the detox pathways, this is where everything kind of comes to a head and where we start having problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip ahead over here to the liver, and we're going to talk about the liver in depth. So take a look here at the liver. Now, whenever we talk about toxins, now these can be endogenous toxins, so things come from inside the body, the end products of metabolism, the breakdown of red blood cells, and all the things that are no longer needed, the end products of hormones. That's an endogenous toxin. That has to be essentially watered down, packaged up, and to be able to removed through either the stool or through the urine. And that's how the body gets rid of toxins. It goes through two phases. Phase 1, which is a cytochrome P450 enzymatic pathway, and phase 2, which is a conjugation pathway. Now, it can be exogenous toxins, things that are coming from outside the body. So things like mold and things of this such. And what happens is, as it comes through, it requires the use of nutrients. So phase 1, the cytochrome P450 enzymatic pathway, requires the use of B vitamins and glutathione, which we know is a master antioxidant, and flavonoids, branched chain amino acid, phospholipids. All of these things are super duper important for the body. Now, as it's watered down, it starts to go through the next cycle. And as it does, we need things to protect the liver and to protect the body from getting oxidation and free radicals. That's going to be our antioxidants. Things like vitamin A, C, E, selenium, copper, zinc, manganese, CoQ10, which we know if you take a statin drug, that eliminates your body's CoQ10, which is going to cause more brain disruptions. Bioflavonoids, all of these are super important to help protect the liver. And then it moves into phase 2, the conjugation pathway. This requires glycine, taurine, glutamine, N-acetylcysteine, methionine. All of these are super duper important to methylation, glucuronidation, and all of the conjugation that has to take place to essentially get rid of this toxin. And then it has to be removed either through the feces or through the urine. So you have to make sure you drink plenty of water. Now with mold, it's a little bit different. So what we have to do is we have to stimulate the cells to release the mold. So we're doing that with things like digestive bitters. And then when it's released, we need to make sure that the liver can properly package it up and get it rendered useless and no longer toxic to the body. So we have to make sure that we have B vitamins, antioxidants, and beautiful glycine, taurine, glutamine, and acetylcysteine and methionine on board to help with this process. Then, as it goes through, molds are detoxed mainly through the stool. As it goes through, what happens is the gallbladder is going to secrete bile. As it secretes bile, bile is going to be like a magnet to these molds, and it's going to stick to it. Now, there is another problem in here. The body thinks bile is super duper important and it's very expensive for the body to produce. So at the very end of the digestive tract, bile is reuptake back into the body to be recycled and reused. Unfortunately, a lot of times the mold will be recycled during that. Not all of it, but a good percentage. So what we have to do is we have to add binders back into the diet and back into the stool in order for it to pull away from that bile, that toxin, and remove it through the feces. So let's kind of talk about what supplements we need to be using. What we want is we want a good protocol, and this just doesn't happen overnight. You need to be drinking half your body weight in ounces of water a day. I like distilled best because it's going to help to pull the toxins out even faster. We want you to make sure that you keep your bowels moving every day because binders can bind you up. So we want to do about 8 ounces of warm water and then add some lemon to it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Drinking things like green tea, not only does it have L-theanine in it, which can help you sleep better at night and give you rest and help with anxiety, but it's also full of polyphenols, resveratrol, things that are going to be very important to help get rid of this. Coffee. Coffee is also very good because it is an antioxidant. But if you remember what I told you about some of those toxins, you can have mold in coffee. So make sure you're getting a good sourced coffee, something that is mold free. We want to eat a variety of fruits and vegetables. There are lots of things that are going to help to bind toxins and bind mold better than others. So make sure you eat a rainbow of color. Lots of greens, stinky foods like garlic, onion, leeks, avocado, celery. Eat things that are well binding. So things like beets, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, tomatoes, cabbage, dandelion, kale, arugula. Include spices like clove, cumin, rosemary, sage, thyme, oregano, basil, and bay leaf. Now, one of my favorite things is to boost you full of nutrients. And we just do this for a short time to get your body to do what it's supposed to. So I like people to do smoothies in the morning. Add in a protein powder, something that has lots of good amino acids in it. Add in some NAC and glycine. NAC is that N-acetylcysteine that we talked about that is used in the conjugation pathway of the liver. This is a precursor to glutathione and a master antioxidant that helps to remove toxins from the liver and support the liver. Flaxseed, chia seeds, these are all really great. And then we want you to do a push catch system, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. I use the one from Quicksilver. I find that it is the best. It's a little rough doing it, but it is the best for removing toxins from the body. There are other things that we can add in. Glutathione, again, master antioxidant. I like liposomal glutathione that you're going to put up underneath your tongue. I need you to put plenty of antioxidants into your body, and melatonin is an antioxidant. Now, I don't want you doing large doses of melatonin. I just want a real good plant-based melatonin so that your body doesn't think it doesn't have to create it anymore. So I like herbatonin, about 0.3 milligrams every night. CoQ10, again, master antioxidant here, great for brain health. A detox pure pack. So this is going to be a vitamin pack that is going to have all of the super important vitamins and nutrients in it, as well as the N-acetylcysteine, the glycine, taurine, glutamine, all of the perfect things that will help to support the liver in its detoxification processes. Ascorbic acid, this is vitamin C, and this is super important for helping to heal the body. It will also help for you to have better bowel movements as well. And then B Supreme, again, the conjugation pathways and the CYP 450 enzymatic pathway rely on B vitamins to help move things through. Then we need you to sweat. So doing things like sauna, exercise, drinking lots of water. When you start to do this system, there is something called a Hertz reaction that can occur. This is where you start detoxing. A lot of people with this notice they smell weird. So you'll notice a stronger body odor, maybe a more foulness to your breath. Your feet might stink a little bit more, that sort of thing. That is completely common, especially as we're detoxing. So now I want to move in and show you the medications that we like to use. So this is a system from Quicksilver that I like to use just to help get rid of the toxins from the body. And this is the push catch system. So what this is a liver sauce. No, it's not made from liver. It is actually full of things like dandelion, gentian, essential oils, dilinolone methane or DIM, milk thistle, quercetin, things like that. And what this is digestive bitters. So when you put this in your mouth, you'll notice an increase in salivation. It's also going to cause bile to be excreted a little bit faster so that the liver can get these toxins through the processes and out of the body. And then we have a binder packet. So the binder, what you're going to do is you're going to mix this in water and then drink it up. And so this has got things in it like zeolite, some clay, some charcoal, silica, things that are going to bind that toxin to it and stop it from causing problems or wreaking havoc with the bile and causing issues through there. So this is the push catch system. I usually have you on this for about 3 months. I also like you to take a good B vitamin. Again, we want to increase the nutrients within the body so that your body can be absorbing and getting rid of the toxins that it needs and has everything on file for it. So a good B Supreme. I do like this one from Designs for Health. Now, ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid I like from Pure Encapsulations, just a really good one where I'm having you take about 2 of these at night, and that just helps bowels mood and give you plenty of vitamin C. Now, the other thing that we like is glutathione. Glutathione, again, a master antioxidant. What it's going to do is help to improve overall healing. And I like this liposomal glutathione right here from Quicksilver. You're going to do a couple pumps up underneath your tongue and then swallow it down. Now, like I said, there are other things that you can do, such as herbatonin. I really like the herbatonin. And like I said, we would do the lower dose, the plant-based melatonin. And that's this one here, the 0.3. This is wonderful. This comes as a 4-month pack. You got plenty in there. But I really like the herbatonin with this. And then, of course, if you're still having problems with bowels moving, you can do some magnesium glycinate, and that will really help to move those bowels along a little bit more if you feel like you're getting bound up. Magnesium is super important because it is required for every enzymatic function within the body. So this is a really great one for just kind of helping to clear things up, helping to heal things. And then CoQ10, that's another great one that I love. CoQ10 is great for the brain, great for all of the support there, and I like this one from Pure Encapsulations. So in total, it does take a little while to get rid of these toxins. If you're wanting to do a mycotoxin test, let me know. We can get one ordered and sent to your house, and then we can do a video discussion, or you can come into the office and we can explain how you need to heal your body, how long it's going to take based on your levels and what different toxins you have. Now, a couple other things to keep in mind. This is a process, and even if I can clear the mold out of your body, we have to clear it out of your environment. And so there is a really fabulous book by Dr. Jill Krista called Break the Mold. And this book really kind of explains how you can get rid of the mold out of your body and out of your home, making your life a lot better. And again, it's just called Break the Mold, and it's really a great book that helps you learn how to get the mold out of your body. I gave you her page, not the book. Let's see if I can get the book here. There you go. Break the Mold. Very good book. So if you have any questions, please let us know. And we hope you have a healthy, lovely, beautiful day.